Hello, my name is Akshata Patil. Today I am going to present IC of computer architecture on topic input output mapped devices. So basically there are two types of addressing techniques. Memory mapped input output and IO mapped input output. In memory mapped input output device addressing technique uses the same address space for memory and input output devices. No special instructions needed for accessing input output devices. Whereas in input output mapper devices, special instructions are used to communicate with input output devices, separate address space for input output devices, and memory. So, what is the concept of this input output mapper devices? Input output mapper devices refers to devices that use a separate address space distinct from the main memory space to communicate with CPU. In this method, a range of addresses is reserved exclusively for input-output devices, making it easier for the CPU to difference between input-output operations and memory operations. Special instructions are used to read from and write to these input-output devices, which are mapped to specific hardware devices like keyboard, printers, and network interfaces. Input output port and addressing in input output mapper devices. Input output devices in the system are accessed through input output ports that have unique addresses. Each device is assigned one or more input output ports, which acts as communication gateway between the CPU and the device. Addressing input output ports. The CPU uses specific instructions to send data or receive data from these ports. Here are some advantages of input-output devices. First one is the separate address space. One of the key advantages of input-output mapper devices is that they have their own distinct address space, freeing up the memory address space for other purposes. Simplified hardware. Since input-output devices have separate addresses and are accessed with the special instructions, the hardware interface between the CPU and input-output device can be simplified. Efficient use of instructions. The CPU uses dedicated input-output instructions which can optimize device communication and reduce the complexity of interaction with input-output peripherals. Limitations. First limitations is limited address space. Input-output devices typically have a small address space, which would restrict the number of peripherals in MIPS32 compared to the large memory space used in memory mapped input-output. Special Special instructions required. IO mapping requires special instructions which would add complexity to MIPS32. In contrast, MIPS32 uses standard instructions in memory mapped IO. Performance overhead. Separate IO address space in IO mapped systems causes overhead when switching between memory and IO access. MIPS32 avoids this by using memory mapped IO and which integrates IO access with regular memory operations for better efficiency.